Hey, I'm Shy Fox, and I'm going to show you how to draw these anime eyes. These also work great on chibis. I'm going to take you through this tutorial step by step so that you can follow along and draw this too, no matter your skill level. I'm going to be using Clip Studio Paint, but if you use a different art program, that's fine as well. Lots of the tools that I'm using are basic, and most programs will have them. If you've never made digital art before, you can check out my playlist with videos of what you'll need to know before getting started in digital art. Any other videos or links mentioned during this video will be in the description so that you can go back and check them at your own convenience. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this one and more digital art tutorials in general. I've got lots to teach so that you can improve your digital art skills. You can pause the video at any time to catch up, and you can also use hashtag #drawwithshyfox on Instagram if you want to share your work when you're done. I'll see it there, and so will the community. And speaking of community, we have a Discord that you can join and share your art there and chat with other artists. I want to note that I have reset my Clip Studio Paint back to default settings, so it's easier for you to follow, and so there'll be nothing like custom brushes or custom other settings at this point to confuse you. This will just make it easier for you to follow along. This will be in real time, and while that may mean the tutorial is long, it should be most helpful as you see every single thing I do. So let's get started. Now I've gone ahead and drawn a base head with hair, and so we got the face and everything. So to get started, I did my circle, went around and did a T in the middle, and because the angle for these eyes and this face is directly facing forward, that's going to simplify what we're doing a little bit, and it just means that this X basically, or this T I guess, goes directly in the middle of our canvas, our circle of our canvas, like that. And then the jaw just kind of comes down a little bit. With the anime, especially females style, we only have like this much space. Like, it's a really small space for the chin coming off the face. And then after we've sort of set ourselves up for that, from there I went ahead and did just sort of hair and a neck, and we're not going into detail on how to sketch this, but look for future tutorials on my channel for things like that. Now, what we are worried about is eye placement, and that is also the reason I drew this. So not only can we imagine it on a sketch or on an artwork, we can actually talk about placement, because I feel that eye placement is critical and really important. So we will get into that. Now, before we continue and get started, and I'm going to help you guys create a canvas and everything, I would like to fix my workspace up, as the default Clip Studio Paint workspace is not exactly how I like it. So a couple things. I am just going to close off that little tab there. We are not doing animation, so that can go away. And then I've got a bunch of these that I don't really need. And it is actually my personal preference. I don't like the navigator. I mean, I guess I just don't really use it. I don't use the little tiny window. And I'm just gonna move my brushes over here so that they have space. And I have everything here looks good. Just gonna make space. So to get started, you're gonna wanna go File, New, and then we've got a canvas of 3000 by 3000 and a resolution of 300. And then you may want to record time lapse, but other than that, that's pretty well everything you'll need to use. This is in the unit of pixels, and here we go. You may want to file name and save right off the bat. Sometimes I like to do that. So I've already created mine with the same dimensions and everything, and I'm just going to carry on from here. You can go ahead and create a new layer. Sometimes it's useful to delete the one you have, as we don't want like a paper layer. Delete and make a new one if you need to. And I also think I'm gonna make a folder. I just like folders to organize. So I'm gonna put this layer in the folder, and I've already got these, and it's up to you if you want to go this far and try and sketch. Feel free to pause and copy my sketch if you would like. I would recommend starting with this, so you can pause and watch this part, and then from this point you can, I like to turn down the opacity here, and like this is it with full opacity, turn it down when I sketch over top of it, and then go ahead and sketch in the blue lines that I have. And I like blue just because it's easier to line work over top of, and I also just like blue in general. Okay, so once you've either done this or not, up to you, or you're going to put these eyes on your own character, and that's completely great and fine if you're going to do that. We actually want to get started sketching this thing. Now, it is worth noting that these eyes are exactly symmetrical, other than the odd couple things. So there is going to be some ability to even copy paste. To help myself out and not get too distracted by the other lines, I find it's a good idea to really turn down the opacity of kind of what we have. I find this really helpful. So I'm going to turn that down. Don't even know if you can see those lines anymore, but it will help us place the eyes. And if we don't place them perfectly, the beautiful thing is we're going to pick the eyes up, move it, and we can even scale it up and down, transform it if it's not quite right. I'm going to sketch with a slightly darker blue for the sake of visibility for you guys. Let's start with the right eye. Grab yourself, first of all, your new layer, and you've got some kind of pencil going on. So I'm going to start sketching a slight curve. Now the placement for this is just underneath that horizontal axis that we have done, and we will move our eyes as I am sensing that they are low at this point. We can even do it now. If you find your move layer, I'm gonna pull it up a bit and to the side so we're kind of evenly in that quadrant. Don't know if you can tell. All right, so I'm just kind of sketching this in, and I think we're gonna have this come curving around. We're gonna come down there and a little curve here. So it's almost like a rounded little pointy shape. And we're also gonna have a little wing here, eyelash wing. So far so good. I'm gonna thicken this up a little more. Give some more thickness to this. I'm gonna do a couple of eyelash strokes. One there, one here. And if it's helpful to you to sketch better, I recommend turning up your stabilization and then turn it up to what feels good so that you're not getting a lot of, I guess, shakiness in your lines. Also helpful with line art. Great. So we definitely want this curving back. It should create this kind of line there, like it's gonna follow that sort of angle. What you don't want is it to be kind of pointing down. That's not the angle we're looking for. Okay, and this can just kind of come in and follow that a little bit. Not too sharply. We still want to feel some sort of roundness about the eye. So that should be fine there. And then this side of the lash line, the inner corners, can be kind of feathery. And I also think it's useful to draw the kind of the eyelid line. So the eyelid line is going to be there. There's a couple ways you can draw this. You can just do the one. You can do one like this, which is what I'm going to stick with, where they kind of like tree branch style. I don't know, that's what I'm calling it. One line and then the other one kind of comes off of it. And you can even do another one here. So that gives a sense of eyelid. This lash line is really important to get set up from the start. What we're gonna do is kind of darken inside just a little bit more. And I intend to actually use this sketch for the actual line art, because there is something really nice about feathery, soft lash lines. So we're actually going to use this. And you know, if that's like, oh my god, mine looks terrible, then take some time to fix it up. There's no rush. So I'm even fixing mine now, trying to perfect it. a little bit. I mean, being a perfectionist is really not ideal, but make it look good is where we're going with this. So making it look good. If you got something that looks roughly like that, you're off to a great start. I'm going to turn up the opacity of this again so you can kind of see it a little better, and I'm going to put it into position where I think it should go. I am going to pull it over to the right a bit more, and I'm going to turn this up even more. And it is just below that horizontal axis. You kind of get the idea of that placement there. Let's go layer and duplicate our lashes. And we're gonna go to the transform button, and we can click the flip horizontal. And they are exactly symmetrical in terms of this angle of the face. So we want them the same height on the face and sort of the same distance from the nose, or at least the middle of the face, which should be in the middle in this case. So that looks pretty good. I'm kind of just eyeballing this, and I think that will do nicely. And I'm going to merge these two layers together. So we have our lashes on the same layer. I'm going to turn this back down quite a bit there so that we can focus in on our eyes. In fact, maybe just for now, we're going to turn off everything. Sometimes when I'm sketching, I really like to just turn off everything so I can really just focus in, and I'm just moving my canvas. I'm not actually moving the eyes on the placement of the sketch. So from here, why don't we go ahead and click the lock transparent pixels button, and I'm gonna find a dark brown. You could go with black, but a darkish brown, and I'm gonna click the fill. And I'm also now gonna pick a red, like a burgundy red, and find the airbrush. And I'm just gonna color on the tips, just the very tips of the sketch here. Our lashes just on the bottom here and on the tips. And that's all we're gonna do. And now I'm gonna create a new layer, clip it on, and we're gonna do some effects to the lash line. Let's find our sketch brush again and get a kind of gray tan kind of color, somewhere between skin and in here on the palette. It's up to you what color you want to use. You can actually use any color you want. So I'm just creating lines. They're going to be kind of all close together and angled a little bit. Let's do the same thing on the other side. It's nice if our eyes aren't exactly symmetrical, so by drawing one by one in this case, we give some variety. But having those initial lash lines as sort of a base, being symmetrical and the exact same for a facing forward anime art or chibi art like this is perfect. And you can turn the opacity up or down to enhance that effect, or I guess not really enhance it, lessen the effect, because sometimes we don't want it to be too overpowering. I'm going to lessen it just a little bit. Let's go ahead and add the whites of the eye. New layer, and put it underneath all the other ones. Oops, not clipped on. New layer, and I'm just going to find the G pen in this case. Pen tool, G pen. And because I have a gray background, I can see the white. Just note that if you want to make your background, like the transparency of your background a different color, you can go to File, Preferences, and then make your way to Canvas. And then I've just changed my transparent to the same gray. So just make sure the same light gray, and that's just kind of nice to have. So we are going to do the whites of the eye. So it should go along this corner, down, and round from here. And I like to erase as well. So I'm going to find on my color wheel the transparent button so I can use the same tool and erase with it. And this should have some sort of flatness to it. So I'm going to kind of draw over top of what I have and explain sort of this shape. If you're kind of like, what did you just draw? I'm confused. So this is kind of flat. this just rounds to connect, and this is just also rounding. So you get that's really the shape we're going for, and that's it. So if you want to use this as a guide to help you draw that in, you can do that. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to copy paste this. Layer, duplicate layer. And we want to transform it because, again, since our lash line is symmetrical, this can easily be symmetrical as well. There we go. Gonna merge those together. Next thing we want to do is add a new layer. And this is in between my lashes and my whites of the eye. New layer to do the iris of the eye and where the pupil will be. These eyes are bluish, so we can start with a navy blue. Find yourself a navy blue. It can be pretty dark, but I would just make it so it's not darker than your lashes, whatever color you made the lashes. So from here, we are going to get pretty close to this inner part of the eye. I'm getting closer and closer. We're gonna have it touch the bottom, and we're gonna have it round. So these are like ovals. I'm gonna go back and erase the what we have there going outside of the white. I'm gonna go back and erase that in a second. I'm gonna fill this in. And I am gonna actually hand draw the other side instead of copy paste, but if you want to copy paste, you can. In theory, I could clip this on, but I'm not going to. Not for this. Not this time. Does mean I just have to fuss with this a little bit more. I am fussing. Good enough there. Let us do the other side. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna copy paste. Layer, duplicate, I guess technically isn't copy paste, but it's literally doing that. The placement of this one though, I want it to be slightly more in. That's just how I'm doing this one. Slightly more in than the other one. So I might have to compensate by drawing in the blank areas. And what I mean by a little more in is just the distance here and here versus here and here. Why are we doing that, you might ask? It just has to do with the direction eyes are looking at you, and subtle variances and variety in our art is gonna look good. I'm gonna merge these together, the two irises together. And from here, I am going to just fix those bottoms because they're driving me a little nuts. All right, this is where the fun begins. At least I feel like this is where the fun begins. Find your iris layer that you were doing and make a new layer and clip it on to that one. Find yourself a lighter blue and the airbrush, and then you can make the airbrush so that it's roughly this large, and from the bottom we just want to lightly gradient the eye, getting lighter towards the bottom, so roughly the same on either side. And you can even also go back and sort of erase if you need to make them more even or a little less intense, because we don't want to do too much. And we're gonna go new layer, clip it on. I'm gonna use a lighter blue here, find my G pen, make it larger, and do a circle. Just like that. But I actually want that to be centered, so I can from here go to the transform and then free transform. I'm just gonna change it and rotate it, just kind of make it more narrow. That looks good, and I'm going to attempt to draw the same shape on the other side so I don't have to transform it. think I still need to transform it. So I'm gonna grab my lasso to just do this part since they're on the same layer. Transform and fix it up. That's the thing about eyes that are completely symmetrical, is making them the same is going to be important, but again, it's kind of nice to have some variance in that they are not exactly the same. Okay, and we are going to take, with our G pen, click the transparency on our color wheel. We're going to grab a slightly smaller brush and erase into this, and this kind of gives us a sense of the pupil. And then I'm also going to click the lock transparent pixels on this layer and pick a slightly darker version of this blue and just do a line like that on both sides. Okay, I'm gonna pick a more purpley blue now. And it's still pretty light. And I am going to make a new layer, clip it on, and do a little long oval shape here. This is kind of the highlight of our pupil. I'm gonna do one of those over here as a highlight there. Same one here, and I am also gonna do one here. They are the same. So make sure that the high one is on the left in both. We want our highlights to not be mirroring each other. Our highlights need to, for the most part, be the same way. Same on the left and the right. Speaking of that, now's a good time to go and draw those main highlights in. In this case, in this artwork, we're gonna put our main large highlight, as there's usually one at the top. And I think it's good if these aren't too big. Scale mine down just a little bit. And again, the other side. And we're gonna do a little one next to it. And we're gonna do one here. And one here. So check that those look relatively the same. You could also copy and paste. I'm gonna go layer duplicate and find the filter blur, Gaussian blur. This is gonna create a bit of a glow, and around that 15 number it looks good. And if you want to increase the intensity of that bit of glow, you can duplicate again. So now we're starting to get a fair number of layers, and we don't really want to get lost, so you can check what's what. These are all part of the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, because I had 3 layers dedicated to the whites of the eyes. That's what I want to do, merge those together. I'm actually going to go back to the whites of the eyes, and I'm going to click on the lock transparent pixels. Boom. And I'm going to find myself a purplyish but grayish color. And what I want to do, I'm going to make that even lighter, is actually draw the shadow of the tops of the eyes, and this is just going to follow the arch of our lash line. And it could look good to even include little lashes inside. That looks good. Same thing on the other side. This is a symmetrical thing. And they just sort of curve inward with the lashes, or with that lash line. This lash line just curves a little bit. Get that looking good. Try. Good enough. All right, let's add some more fun things to our eyes. Let's go back to, it's a matter of finding where we are inside of our group of layers, because we have the iris and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 as of now clipped on layers. And clipping can be confusing, especially when you get a lot of these. So I'm actually gonna, I just turn them on and off to figure out what's what. Like, oh, this is that one, this is that one. I'm gonna find this one with those bubbles, and I want to do a layer above it so that it will show up over top when I draw. I'm gonna eyedropper this blue, and I want to pick a lighter blue again, find my G pen, and do a little bubble there. I'm gonna do on the other side, and I'm gonna do the same thing again with an even lighter blue, and there's no reason I can't do this on the same layer, so I will. Just like that. Great. New layer again, and we're gonna actually go into some like pinky purple stuff and do a shape right here. This is like a fuchsia. And with this is really intense, so I had some lag on my computer just now. That was awkward. And with this, I'm gonna turn down the opacity. And I'm gonna also do one here. I'm drawing on that same layer, why not? One there and one there. Okay, new layer again. Sometimes it's nice to have everything separated, but you can also kind of just draw on one layer if that's more your style. This is just kind of how I do it, and at some point I eventually kind of merge it together. So I'm gonna do little bubbles going up on this side and little bubbles going up on this side. There will be some overlap, so if you find that you're drawing underneath or over top of certain layers and you're not meaning to, then you can do the on-off thing and move your layers around. So I'm just doing roughly 4 dots on either side, and they're kind of going from bigger to smaller as we go up. And maybe I'll do even tiny little ones up further. And I'm not being a total perfectionist about it. Like, it's fine for the most part in this case. I'm sure a lot of people won't see the art zoomed in too much. Okay. I'm actually going to go back to the original iris layer and make a layer on top of it. So this is like our bottom most clip layer. I'm gonna find like a turquoisey blue and grab my airbrush and kind of do one side and one corner. Corner, corner, just on the top so you can kind of see that's all that I did there. So our eyes are getting fairly close to done. Couple more things I think to sort of emphasize our eyes and the way that they look that would look good. I'm just looking at it and thinking this is something we need to do. So topmost layer, new layer clipped on, find a, you know what, we're gonna use, what are we gonna use? The darkest of the navies, so eyedropper. And I'm back on my pencil tool, and I just feel in this case we want to kind of line the bottom of the eye. And that's all that we're doing there. And this is kind of up to you. I'm just thinking I want to create a new layer not clipped and kind of just add on to that. And this would be a good opportunity to do a couple like eyelash bits if you want to do something like that, if that looks good to you. And maybe even a floater one. Do a floater. And I don't like that in navy, so I'm actually gonna click the lock transparency, eyedropper, and pick the I'm gonna pick a burgundy color from our other lash lines and just go over top of it. I like that. So our eyes are pretty much done. For fun, there's a couple other things you could do, such as new layer, clip. Where is our clip button? Clip, clip, clip. I'm forgetting. The button I clicked all day. Couple fun things. If you wanted to, you could mess with different colorations of your eyes. You could do new layer, check, click the color mode, and let's say we wanted to try pink. We could go over, get like the airbrush and do something like that. That looks really neat. And this is also an opportunity, like, you could go ahead and make rainbow eyes if you wanted to, where it like transitions. That would be like wild. Cool. Do whatever you want. So you can play with color over top of. And then you could also, the other way you could also do this would be changing the hue. So delete that. We would go edit. Actually, we would do layer, correction layer. Where are we? Correction layer, and go to hue. Mine popped up on another screen, so I'm going to pull that down. And you can just go ahead and change the entire hue of what you got. That looks neat. Really cool. Ooh, I like that a lot. Play with that if you want. And another fun tip is, okay, I'm gonna do layer, clip it on, topmost layer, add glow. You can really make it glow. Let's see, I'm gonna make mine glow with like a cyan. And again, airbrush tool is really great for this. So if you just want to make that glow, you can do that. And maybe from the inside, like if I were to actually do this, which I think I might, I don't know, I would do it from the bottoms, but I think it would still be important to have this edging. So I'm erasing with the airbrush along there. I just think defining the edges of our iris is still important enough that I'm gonna make sure we've done that along the edges. I like that. We're gonna call those eyes done. Let's go back to our sketch with that and see how we're looking. These eyes actually look really big to me. So now is a good time. I mean, normally we'd probably like, you know, color other things at the same time, or maybe we would have done line art. Maybe we wouldn't have. But what we can do if we're like, oh, these eyes, I'm gonna name my folder eyes. The placement of these eyes and things could be better because I'm looking at them and they definitely could be. I'm gonna select, actually I'm gonna transform them because I want them to be the same size. Transform them at the same time. Find my scale, make them smaller. Sometimes we make our eyes too big, I would say. I like that size. Place one on one side, and I'm going to lasso that one and drag it over. And because it's all in a folder, I can easily just pick them all up together like so. And are they even? Do they look good? That's definitely much better. Perfect. I am satisfied with those eyes. I'm gonna kind of go ahead and finish this up a little bit. Nothing too crazy, just so you can get a visual of what this might look like all done. And there you have it. I've gone ahead and sort of done a coloring of skin of the face just to give you an idea of what that could look like. Feel free to copy this too, and share on Instagram if you would like. Hashtag draw with Shy Fox, that's 2 X's. And I have lots more draw alongs on my channel and also more eye draw alongs coming, specifically anime and chibi and other types of draw along tutorials. So like and subscribe if that interests you, and also if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys in another one another time. Have a good one.